oh, speaking of stunts, one thing I omitted was I forgot about this. Going back to Zoo Venture, Zoo Venture was picked up for another season, and again, they were going to. It was official that I was going to produce it, and I started to produce it, but at the same time, just coincidentally, I'm sorry to omit this. Vin DeBona, who you might know, he's been doing America's Home Videos since about 3000 BC. Bob Saget hosted it, and I think I even hosted it for a while. But yeah, that show just goes on and on and on. But Vin had an idea for a stunt show as well, but almost the opposite of what I like. And you could tell, again, Family Challenge, not so much. Shop, Chew, Drop, yes. Legends of the Hidden Temple. But it was an interesting premise he bought from Japan. It was called Off the Wall because in studio, when we eventually got to the studio, there are 9 video screens, 3, 3, 3. Okay, and in each screen there's a different person, different race, different sex, different age. Okay, and so for every stunt, we're talking about in studio now. The actual premise of the show was kids show for the Disney Channel. Okay, and I'd never done anything for the Disney Channel or Vin DeBona. So once you would get to the point of being in the studio, you would tell the kid the stunt, and it could be as simple as a staring contest. Okay, let's say it's a staring contest. So you're looking at the 9 people. Do you pick the old lady who has cataracts? Okay, or we don't know. Well, she's going to blink more. Or do you pick the 5-year-old kid who probably doesn't even understand what a staring contest does? Or that guy just looks like a loser. Look at the way he's dressed. All right, I'm going, and that's the way it worked. So, you would pick a person, and then, 3, 2, 1, you'd start the clip. You watch the guy on the screen, you watch the kid in the studio, whoever blinks first, and that's that. The downside of that is I wasted all those other 8 people that I shot doing the same stunt. It was a total waste of video. So going back, the way that worked, because Disney Channel Disney Channel asked me to shoot all of those 9 videos down in Disneyland. So once again, I got my good friend Steve Grant, who I mentioned a few minutes ago. It's probably 3 hours. And Steve went down to Disneyland once again, like San Diego Zoo. It's too far to drive to Disneyland. So we lived in Anaheim for the next 13 weeks. Or 10 weeks, however long it took. Unfortunately, I didn't have Todd or Dennis with me. I took Scott and Kevin, who I'd worked with on Debt, to be my stunt producers. But when we talked in the office with Vin about what kind of stunts he wanted for this show, he explained that he wanted to devise a show that anybody and everybody could play from home, that all the stunts that we were playing on the show, they could do at home. Now, that was antithetical to every stunt show that I'd ever done, because the stunt shows I'd worked on, it's like, oh, I want to go on the show and do that. But this show was more, well, again, you and I can have a staring contest right now. So I was a little bit at odds as to what kind of stunts he was talking about. And I swear this is true. I'm sitting in his office with his second in command, I won't name, and then crumples up a piece of paper, shoots a basket into the trash basket. He says, there you go. That's the show. I'm thinking, is that really the show? I mean, is that going to sustain a series, throwing paper into a trash basket? I couldn't quite get past that. And then I saw the budget for the stunts, and forget about prototyping. We could barely, literally for this show, we went to, there's a huge toy store on Hollywood Boulevard, and that's where we got 90% of the objects that we needed for stunts, which we didn't have to truck down to Anaheim. We just took them in our cars, We went down to Anaheim, and the way we had to do it, Steve Grant had one camera set up because I couldn't do one stunt at it. I needed more time in the day because again I was fighting sundown, and plus Disneyland gets amazingly busy, as you might guess, and I'm trying to shoot stunts, and I had to obviously cordon off areas where people were not allowed in while I'm shooting the stunt. Likewise, I don't know why I felt I had to do everything, but I would pull a person offline for them to do the stunt, then I pull somebody else to do the stunt. Meantime, Steve's doing another stunt. Disneyland isn't that big. Disney World is huge. Disneyland could fit in my apartment. That's one thing. God bless Walt Disney. It looks amazing on TV, but in person, anyway. So somehow we made it through and we shot all of the stunts. And Vin selected a guy by the name of Larry Zeno. And it was kind of like my experience with I'm Telling. NBC was used to putting on cartoon shows, and I'm Telling was a game show, but they wanted a cartoon voice guy, and that's why we wound up with Laurie Faso, who was ill-equipped. Great guy, great talent, but had never done a game show before. Larry Zeno was a comic, very young guy. I mean, certainly late teens, maybe 20, but he had carrot top like hair, red hair, but more like, oh my gosh, I can't think of the name, Sideshow Bob on The Simpsons, Kelsey Grammer's character, okay? Literally, that kind of hair. And so he looked funny, but that doesn't make him a game show host. And Larry, it was very animated. He'd come out, and this was his moves. Hey, welcome to Off the Wall. And so we made it through the show, and the shows went fine. The errors that we made, not in retrospect, I knew at the time, they wanted things like a pizza. How many slices of pizza can you eat? And again, who can you beat? Well, I definitely could beat the lady without teeth over there or whatever. But the idea of putting a kid through a pizza eating contest, even though we got medics on stage, not the best idea to, and nothing happened to any of the kids on the show, thank God. But again, in retrospect, I would never have allowed that to happen. Because again, you could choke on pizza. Not a great idea. So the show was okay. But again, Larry added to it because of his comedic style, but he was almost separate from the stunts. Once it was on your mark, it said go, there was really no commentary going on. Like Kirk could certainly do a great commentary on Legends during the Temple Run, fill in 3 minutes. Here we're talking about 30-second or 60-second stunts. And, again, Larry's a very talented guy, but again, it takes a little bit of training and a little bit of experience to get there. You think, sure, I can get up there and just read the cue cards, but once you're off cards and you're on your own, you've got to embellish, you've got to come up with stuff and facilitate the stunt. So it was okay. Put it this way, Disney Channel was happy. They aired it, but it didn't get picked up. And the problem was, as I started to say, Zoo Venture had been picked up, and I started to work on Zoo Venture when Vin offered me the job, and I decided to go with Vin only because All American TV was folding up. They were being taken over by Fremantle, and I didn't see any future there. Even though I kind of started it on Zoo Venture, and I came up with a new bonus round for Zoo Venture, I knew that Todd Nelson, JD, and John Kierhofer could handle Off the Wall. Handle Zoo Venture without me being there. Vin DeBona offered a new opportunity for me, and I thought that would work. And it was the worst mistake I've made. Not that Vin was bad, but if I had stayed with Zoo Venture, I'd be working with my buddies, and we would have had fun. And I really didn't, even though I had Steve Grant with me, there was nothing fun about Off the Wall. And it was just an okay show. This Venture was not a great show, but it was certainly a good show. And again, JD could elevate it, and John and Todd, just by the nature of their abilities, could elevate it. And Off the Wall was just kind of there.